been thinking about babies a lot. I can't imagine why. And it makes me think about one of my favorite parts of my job. One of my favorite parts of my job is I get to do christenings or baptisms or whatever you want to call it. I'm not really interested in the label of it because no matter what people call it, I generally do the same thing. And it's not the thing that a lot of people think about when they think about that kind of a ceremony. I don't know if you've been to one of those. I've been to a lot of them. A lot of times the emotion, the vibe is something like, this kid is in danger because he or she started out messed up and we got to quickly throw a blanket of blessings and prayer and whatever on this broken, sinful, yucky kid real quick. That's part one. And then part two is something about, okay, you people gathered around, you're not going to let this kid mess up, right? That's the vibe, right? You're not going to let this kid mess up because the kid's going to mess up. The kid's going to be tempted because the world is a terrible place and there's all kinds of yucky stuff going on. You're not going to let this kid get messed up, right? And then, people go to brunch or whatever. I have a different job. I have a different, let's say, script that I follow. I feel differently about it, and I bet you do too, which is why you're here. With all due respect, we do it a little bit differently. We start out with the idea that, you know what, this child is a child of life. This child is a child of love. This child is what perfection looks like made manifest in this moment, in this flesh. This is something really cool. That's what I get to say. And when I get to talk to the people that have gathered there, my job is something like, don't mess this kid up, okay? It's a different thing because this kid is wonderful. Instead, learn from this kid. Help this child to remember how special they truly are. And in that reminder, may you remember who you truly are. That's the job. This kid, like you and me and everybody else, starts out and always is perfect. The job is just to know it. It's just to know it. So my job to the people there is, please don't give this kid stuff to unlearn. Because it's all about what you know. As many of you know, there is a new kid going to show up any minute in my life. I'm going to be a grandpa for the first time pretty soon, and I can't wait. Because I always love kids. My dream job would be Santa. I love kids. And one of the things that I love about that is I remember the teaching. This is a perfect being. Learn from this. And so when I'm around a little one, I always want to go, what do you know? What do you know? What can you tell me in whatever way you can communicate to me? What do you know? It occurs to me, this is a good question for you and me too. What do we know? Because what you know is what you're going to experience. What you know determines the kind of world that we make together. That question of what you know is a really important one. It's everything. And it seems to me that at the beginning of our spiritual journey, it seems pretty simple that what's happening in the world is all there is. At the beginning of the journey, that feels like this is it. What's happening to me is all there is. And there's a certain truth to that. There's a beautiful simplicity to that. To a little kid, everything is brand new. Everything is magical. Everything is special. And so the kids see something new and they just incorporate it in. Oh, there's magic in that. There's love in that. There's play in that. There's beauty in that. Bring it in. This is part of the world that I experienced. There it is. Bring it in. And in a way, maybe that's our job too. I have to say that over time I began to realize that I was good at part of that and not good at part of it. Maybe you can share some of that experience with me. I realized that I was good at bringing stuff in, but I also realized I was not always good at remembering the magic of what I was bringing in. I just got stuff. And I can blame a lot of things. We're marketed to the idea that just buy some more stuff and you'll be happy. It's in there somewhere. Happiness is in there somewhere. Buy things. And as a true student, read another book, take another class. I've talked about this. I think my attitude in general was acquisitive. If I read enough books, the truth is in there somewhere. There should be a new Discovery Channel show or whatever channel that is about hoarders who just have a lot of truth books. Been to a lot of self-help groups, It's in there somewhere. And I get it. I understand that. I appreciate that. I want you to read books and take classes. But on the other hand, I think for me, early on in my journey, the idea was the good is in there somewhere. I'm just going to keep reading stuff. And it's just in the pile. And I think that my spiritual idea was I can just go on autopilot if I just have enough classes under my belt. But autopilot is the opposite of faith. Faith is intentional, I have to know what I'm saying. I have to know what I'm doing. I have to know what I'm thinking about. Even if I don't know everything, this moment I need to know what I'm about. Just a little bit. Faith is intentional. It's not accidental. It's not autopilot. So it's not enough to just have it in the pile somewhere. As tempting as that is. And when I think about the things that I've really learned, the moments that have really told me who I am and what I'm about, the moments of breakthrough, of revelation, of inspiration, and all of those things, the moments when I really learned something, I don't know about you, but for me, the moments when I learned something are not a moment when I piled something else on. They tend to be the moment when something got taken away. Maybe don't try this at home. But I can tell you for sure that the experience I've had many, many times is something like this. This possession, this thing that I have purchased can tell me who I am. This relationship, this person I've committed to, they can tell me who I am. This affiliation, this organization that I've joined can tell me who I am. This thing that I'm doing, this outfit that I wear, this thing that I've spent time, money, and talent on, this can tell me who I am. And many times, that person, place, or thing has been taken away from me. Because they can't tell you who you are. Maybe it's just me that's had this experience, but it's a wonderful learning experience. Because what I have learned in those moments is, wow, I thought that could tell me who I am, but it's gone and I'm still here. So maybe the learning is about simplifying. Maybe the learning is not about acquisition. Maybe the learning is about getting stuff out of the way that's keeping me from seeing the magic that kids know how to see right out of the box. I've read that the key to a lot of things is just see God. Or Derek, whatever. Just see God. And if you could just see God happening in that situation, just see Spirit at work in that situation, you'll be all right. And I love that. A lot of books, classes, people will tell you that if you can just see Spirit in yourself and hold that, over time, you'll start to see it in other people. Over time, you'll start to see it in your life. And I get that. I appreciate that. I love that. You do have to love yourself. Frankly, you can't give something you don't have, right? But I don't know about you. I've had a lot of times in my life when I knew that intellectually, but I couldn't look in the mirror and see a child of God every time. I look at my problems. I couldn't see the healing every time. I look at the things that are making me angry. I couldn't see the triumph all the time, the love all the time, the healing all the time. And so if that's the table stakes situation, then I felt kind of stuck. And there's another thing. I grew up in a new thought context, which I'm very grateful for. But it also means that I grew up in a world where there were an awful lot of people all my life going, I'm going to go do my self-care spirituality now. Self-care is great. Spirituality is great. But sometimes that chocolate and that peanut butter don't go together like we think they ought to in the cosmic Reese's peanut butter cup of this experience. Because, and stick with me here, it's great if you have a practice that feeds you. It should. But the essence of spirituality is it's not about me. It's about something bigger than me. That's what makes it spiritual. So if my whole spiritual journey involves navel gazing and thinking about how cool I am, Oh, this is my self-care. Great. That doesn't help anybody. Self-care spirituality is like trickle-down economics. You know? You think about that how you choose. But the point is, of all of that, is it's got to be about more than what goes on between my ears and in my heart if this is going to work. And I also want to let you know that it's okay if you can't always see that spiritual person when you look in the mirror, because we're all on a healing journey. A lot of us didn't have that kind of christening that I talked about in the second case. A lot of us had the first one in one way or the other. You start out broken and you're yucky and deal with it. A lot of us have stuff to unlearn is what I'm trying to say. So it's okay if you're in that process of unlearning. Maybe it's not just about what I do in my self-journey and self-care and self-whatever it is. Maybe it's a little bit more Bob Dylan where you just got to serve somebody, you know? What if it's about just taking a moment? Just a moment. Just doing something nice. Maybe it's not complicated. Just take care of somebody in some small way. And in so doing, don't take care of them because you're supposed to. Don't take care of them because it gives you something to put on Instagram. Don't take care of them because that's what your upbringing is. Great. But instead, do something nice for someone because that person is a child of God. You don't have to say it. It's okay if they disagree with you. You're not going to beat them over the head with it. This is not missionary work. Just see it. You don't have to say it. Just see it. When you stop at the red light and the person asks you for money, if you choose to give them money, that's great. See them as a child of God. The most important thing is you're another human being on this journey. That's way more important than whether it's a 1 or a 5. Help somebody. Serve somebody. See somebody. And you will begin to not be distracted by what's going on the outside. So what do you know? At the beginning of this journey, like I said, it seems like what's going on in the world is all there is. And then I feel like for some people, and I know for myself, got a little further down the road and I started to feel like, well, nothing out here really matters. This isn't even real. There's something spiritual going on. There's something metaphysical going on. And that's what I want to think about. And I don't know about you, but I found that very intoxicating. You can kind of get high off the idea that this isn't important and I'm just floating around somewhere else. You know? None of this is important, man. See how hip I sound when I say it like this? And a lot of people stop there, at that part of their journey. This is all meaningless, and I took the pill that Morpheus gave me, and I'm, all of this is pretend, And I get that, but it also sounds a lot like ego, And again, it doesn't help anybody to have barriers and walls, and some stuff is good and some stuff is bad. And when I think about how much religious practice is based around the idea of barriers, when you come in here, you got to say a special thing. You got to step across the salt. You got to do the scroll. You got to do the hokey pokey and turn yourself around. There's a thing that you have to do. Words you have to say. How much wall is built around the idea of jargon? Well, we use special words, whether they're words like sin and damnation or words like energy and vibration. If you have to use jargon to explain something, then you don't understand it. It just keeps people out. How much religious practice is based around the idea of they're bad, we're good, exclusion. And I think about how funny that is when I think about how every spiritual hero, their whole job was to tear down walls. The hero that I think about doesn't have to be the one that you think about. The hero that I think about is Jesus. His whole thing was, hey guys, it's not where you're going to go. It's not about finish lines and destinations. It's about right here. It's not about bad people and good people. There's just people. It's not about where you're going to go. It's where are you? It's very different. I'll put that a different way. I spent a lot of my life crossing things off of lists. Really into productivity. Very important stuff. Getting things done, very important. I know how to make money. I know how to handle things. I know how to be an accomplished person and a good employee. I know how to show up in that way, and none of it's any fun. Because what I learned is the more I spent time thinking about getting to a destination, the more life just kind of went by. You look back, what did I do this year? You ever drive to work and not know how you got there because you're thinking about getting there? Life is like that. Everything is like everything. Let me put that another way. It's understandable that we've been trained to cross things off of lists and get things done and put things away. But life doesn't put things away. Life doesn't close down, does it? Life expands out. Life doesn't get to a finish line. Life just is. There are no destinations in life with a capital L. There just is. Death shuts things down, put things away, you know? So ask yourself, when you're in the middle of being really, really productive, crossing things off the lists, ask yourself, am I on the side of life or on the side of death by what I'm doing right now? If you want more life in your life, stop trying to get somewhere and start trying to be somewhere. That is the secret to healing. And that sounds great, but it's not something that I was great at. Like I said, I was really good at barriers and boundaries. I was really good at the moment when someone's driving crazy, and then you get up next to them at the light and you look at them. Because I need you to know that I know that you know that I know that you're a bad driver. And I won. I'm sure no one else does that. I'm sure it's just something that I use. The one that really got me is, if you want to be on the side of life, thou shalt not hate thy job. Oh, that's hard, you know, I get it. But the thing is, if you hate something, you're never going to be rid of it. If you give that focus and that negativity and that intense attention, you're going to be right next to it. It's the one sure way to really lock onto something is to hate it. You'll never get over it. And if you hate your job, it means you're never going to get done with it. Life doesn't lock on like that. Life and love lets go. If you love something, set it free because love sets free. So set something free. Be okay with the idea that you're on a journey, that it's not about the destination. Be okay with the idea that it just feels good to do stuff. It feels good to be nice. You don't have to have a lot of rules for it. You don't have to have a lot of concepts behind it. There doesn't have to be a hierarchy of dogmatic assertions. Just go be nice. Go serve somebody. Go see something in somebody. Think about what you know. Just like you were a little kid. And with that in mind, I want to give you some homework. I've done this. It changed my life. I guarantee it will change yours. If it's all about what you know, I want you to take some time, sometime soon, maybe even today. Take some time to get still and quiet. Get a piece of paper and a pen or whatever and write down what you know. Not what you believe, not what you think you ought to write. No one is grading this. Not what you grew up with, not what you wish you had grown up with, none of that. Not what you believe. Write down what you know about your inner life, about your relationship with God, how this stuff works. I know that, and it's okay if you start small, I know that it feels good to laugh. I know that eventually love wins. I know that there have been a lot of times in my life when I was really worried, but it worked out because I'm still alive. Yay! So far, so good. I know. Write down what you know. And then the next day, revise that list. Write down what you know then. If you do that every day for a week, every week for a month, and every month for a year, once a day for 7 days, once a week for 1 month, once a month for 1 year, if you do that, it will change you because you will be the kind of person that looks for a different kind of knowing. What you know will change things. You begin to realize that, you know what, I don't manifest anything. I don't make anything. I don't attract anything because the universe is already good. What do I got to make? If I'm saying that I'm going to attract good to me, aren't I saying that there's no good here now? Begin to know something different. I know that it's all good right now. I don't make stuff happen. The universe is good. Life is good. When I act in accordance with good, things are easy. When I try to swim against the tide and be egotistical, selfish, afraid, things are hard. That's it. That's the whole thing. It's all about what you know. So watch what happens when you just be nice. Watch what you know. because you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. Because after all, freedom is a choice. Thank you.